Assalamu alaikum everyone. Today's video is on how to solve quadratic inequalities. Let's get started. So here I've got a quadratic inequality. The first step, the way I solve it, is I write this inequality as if it was an equation. So I would start off by writing this down as x squared. Oops. I would start off by writing this down as x squared plus 8x plus 15 equals 0. Now I would go ahead and solve this quadratic equation. You can do this either by factorizing, if factorizing is possible, or by completing the square, or by using the quadratic formula. I'm going to factorize here. So I need two numbers that multiply to give me 15, because 1 is the coefficient of x squared and 15 is the y-intercept. I multiply those two. 1 times 15 is 15. So I need two numbers to multiply to give me 15, and the same two numbers will add to give me the coefficient of x, which is 8. So my two numbers are 3 and 5. So I can go ahead and split this into the two numbers 3 and 5. So I'll rewrite this as x squared plus 3x plus 5x plus 15 equals 0. Then I factorize these two and those two separately. So I've got x bracket x plus 3 plus 5 bracket x plus 3 equals 0. And I factorize the whole line. You can see that the both brackets are x plus 3. So I'll have x plus 3 here, and then the second bracket will be formed using x plus 5. Now these two brackets represent a number each, and if two numbers multiply to give you 0, then either one of them or both of them are equal to 0. So anything multiplied by 0 is 0. So x plus 3 is equal to 0, or x plus 5 equals 0. Then I subtract 3 both sides. X is equal to minus 3. I subtract 5 both sides. So x is equal to minus 5. At this point, in order to picture the inequality, what I'm going to do is sketch a quadratic graph for this particular situation here, for the equation and the inequality. Okay, I can see that both my roots or solutions are on this side because x is minus 3 and x is equal to minus 5. So when I sketch this, it's going to look a little bit like this. I don't need to find the turning point as such for this. Okay, and it's only a sketch, so it doesn't have to be super accurate, but the location of things needs to be in the right place. So minus 5, 0. This will be my first solution over here. My second solution over here is minus 3, 0. And then the y-intercept will be 0, 15. And I've obtained this from here. So whenever we are finding the y-intercept, the x-coordinate is going to be 0. And if you were to substitute that, you would be able to find the y-coordinate. Okay, now I'm going to concentrate on my inequality. In this case, our inequality was greater than 0. So what this means is we need to be on this part of the graph, which is above the x-axis when it's greater than 0. Okay, when it's greater than or equal to 0, it has to be either on or above. the x-axis. This is just greater than 0. So it has to be above the x-axis. So I've highlighted the two parts of the graph which are above the x-axis. To be on this part of the graph, the x coordinates or the x values for the graph have to be less than -5. So I'm going to write that down. So x has to be less than -5. And then to be on this section of the graph, again, it's above the x-axis, the x coordinates have to be greater than -3. So x has to be greater than -3. And that would be suitable for my solution for this quadratic inequality. But I can write this as one inequality where x is less than -5, but yet it is greater than -3. So those two fulfill my quadratic inequality. I'll go through one more example, two more examples. I've got this x squared minus 3x minus 28 is less than 0. Again, first step, write it as an equation. Second step, solve the equation. Once I solve it, I'm going to draw a sketch and then identify the inequality from there. So x squared minus 3x minus 28 equals 0. That's my first step. Okay, now I'm going to try and factorize it again. The coefficient of x squared is 1. The y-intercept is minus 28. So I do 1 times minus 28. That gives me minus 28. So I need two numbers that multiply to give me minus 28. But then the same two numbers add to give me minus 3. So the two numbers I'm thinking about are minus 7 and 4. So I'll go ahead and factorize. And there's a quicker way to factorize. You could do that as well. No problem. So I'm going to go ahead and write this down as x squared plus 4x. 4 times minus 7 gives you minus 28. And then 4 plus minus 7 gives you minus 3. So 4x and minus 7x are the two numbers I'm going to use. Then I'll go ahead and factorize both of them. So this will be x bracket x plus 4. X is the highest common factor. Here, minus 7 is the highest common factor. Minus 7 bracket and then x plus 4. And if I was using this particular method to factorize, an indication that I've got this right is the two brackets will be the same. So I'm going to factorize this whole line here. So x plus 4 is the highest common factor. And then the second bracket will be made up of x minus 7. That's equal to 0. Again, I'll then go ahead to try and find the solutions. So x plus 4 equals to 0 and x minus 7 equals 0. So I subtract 4 both sides. So x equals minus 4. And I'd add 7 both sides. X is equal to positive 7. Again, now the next step is to draw my sketch. So I'm going to just quickly draw a grid. Doesn't have to be super accurate or anything. And then I'll draw my sketch. So it's minus 4 and 7. So let's draw a quadratic graph here. So that's minus 4, 0. That's my first solution. And then the second one will be 7, 0. Here I've got my solutions on either side of the y-axis. And then my y-intercept here will be 0 minus 28. This time, my inequality states that it has to be less than 0. So for quadratic inequalities that are less than 0, you're looking for that section of the graph that is below the x-axis. So I'm going to highlight it here. And in order to be below the x-axis, okay, the x coordinates on these in this region will have to be greater than -4, but again it has to be less than 7. So I'll start off by writing x is greater than -4 and then x is less than 7. So I can rewrite that as x is greater than -4, at the same time less than 7 as one inequality. Okay, and finally, one last inequality. Okay, this time I'm going to change this one to, let's say, less than or equal to. So the same thing, first write it out as an equation, then try and solve it. Thirdly, draw a sketch. Fourthly, write the inequality. Okay, so two numbers that multiply to give you 24, add to give you -10. I'm going to do the quicker factorization here. So this would be -4 and -6. They multiply to give you +24 and add to give you -10. So I'm just gonna write, let me take a step back. I'll write this as an equation first. X squared minus 10x plus 24 equals 0. Then I'll factorize it. X minus 4 times x minus 6 equals 0. So either x minus 4 equals 0 or x minus 6 equals 0. Now I solve it. So x is equal to 4 and then x is equal to 6. And then I am going to draw a sketch. So this time that's a little bit wonky. Let's fix that. That's better. I'm going to sketch my quadratic graph. This time both my solutions are to the right of the y-axis. So here I've got 0, 4, and there, that's that one. This one is, I've messed up the coordinates. It's not 0, 4, it's 4, 0. X first and then y. Sorry, it's 4, 0. Let's rewrite that 0. And this one is 6, 0. This is a complete unedited version. I'm not editing this video at all. Just gonna put it as it is. And this one 0, 24. Okay, so it's less than and equal to 0, which is going to be this section here. And in order to be over there, x has to be greater than or equal to 4. Again, because there's an equal sign in our inequality, as well as x has to be less than and equal to 6. Now I can write this as one inequality as such. But if you write it as two separate inequalities, that is also fine. The exam board will accept it. Okay, well, I hope this video has helped you understand how to solve quadratic inequalities. And thank you for watching. Goodbye.